DJ Dewey Rock on the track.
Welcome to Immerse Podcast 360. I'm your host, Maserati. We want to thank you for tuning in. No matter where you are in this metaverse world, we got a great show for you. We want to thank you for all the likes, shares, and subscriptions thus far on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We have a great show. This is being brought to you by Involved Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic needs of love, learn, live, and laugh. We're going to enter the mind of the basketball football head coach. He is a graduate born in Altimer, Arkansas, where he graduated in 1993. He was an all-conference in football and basketball. He went on to receive a scholarship to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, where he graduated in 1998, where he played wide receiver and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in history. He has now been teaching and coaching for 23 years. His stint involves Rayville High School, Richwood, where he helped start the return of the Richwood Ram football program and high school, Grambling Lab, where he was the head coach, Madison Prep head coach, Dale High Charter School, where he spent his last 4 years, until coming to Bastrop, where he's now the head coach from 2018 until he's married to Miss Renee Richard, and he has a daughter, Kayla, and he's a proud grandfather of his grandson, Sedaria. Hey, we got a great show. It's head coach Richard of the Bastrop Rams football team. Coach Richard, how you doing today, sir? How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah,
we're doing fine.
Yeah, we
hear you.
We hear you now, Coach. Glad to have you on.
Okay.
Yeah, we're glad to have you on, Coach. It's great to hear from you. I know the people like to hear from you. What's been going on, Coach? And tell us a little bit about yourself, Coach, coming up over there in Altimer, Arkansas.
Okay, man, growing up, my mother, when I was younger, my mother was kind of back and forth and looking for work opportunities, and I stayed with my grandmother the bulk of my life. And I also called her mother as well. And I was raised by her along with a couple of my aunts. I think I sent you a picture of one of them. Growing up, my dad was not around in terms of being there to raise me. He was a great man, and he was always in my life. He was just in another state. My dad lives in Jackson, and I used to go stay with him in the summertime. And other than that, I used to spend time with his mother and father as well. They were from Water City, Arkansas, and Stuttgart, Arkansas. Still visit them as well. But for the most part, it was me and my grandmother. Her name was Bertie Rivalda, and she was a tough woman. She ran a household. She was a mom and a dad, and she ruled it with an iron fist. She was a housekeeper. She would go and clean people's houses and cook food for them, and then come home and have to do the same thing. And I love her to death, and to this day, she's 87 years old, and she's still pride and joy for me.
All right, Coach. I knew we was talking earlier that it was a small town over there, actually named Altimer, and you just gave me the history behind the name. Coach, kind of tell us how it was that you being an athlete coming from a small town in Arkansas.
Well, first of all, so people can kind of understand the type of places I came from, it will put you in the mind of Benita. You had one blinking light right there, a couple of gas stations or whatever. Everybody knew everybody, and everybody is related to most of the people around there. It was a fireplace, and the main event for us was when we were going to basketball games or football games or whatever like that, or the park on Sundays. That was like the main event that we had in that little small town. And a big deal for us was taking a trip to Pine Bluff the bigger city, kind of like it is for the kids here to go to a Monroe Street or New Orleans or something like that. It was a little bit slower pace in a small town, but you know how these small towns try to act like big towns, and you have violence just like you would in a larger place. Sports gave me the ability to connect with a lot of other kids that I didn't necessarily grow up around. It also allowed me to express myself and grow as a young man. Without my dad being around, sports also gave me a way to be around men that helped me eventually become into my own man. And I try to give back the same way, just like other coaches gave back to me.
Right, right. Coach, kind of tell us about, I know you was a great athlete over there coming out of a small town. You played wide receiver, and you was pretty good at basketball. Tell us how that was. What was it competitive? And what was your drive to push you on to end up getting a scholarship?
Well, number one, when I was younger, I always had to play. I didn't have any older siblings, so I always had to play with the older kids down the street. And I grew up in a different part of town. Where we lived, that was more rural, and it was outside of our town. And they called where we stayed New Town. All right, and I guess because it was a new addition a long time ago. But we were known for having pretty good athletes out there in that place. As a matter of fact, two of my neighbors down the street, they went on to play in the NFL. So we had some pretty special talent down there, but it was always highly competitive. Back when you would play throw tackle, you didn't even need a ball. All we needed was a nip ball. If we didn't have a basketball goal, you cut off folks in the rim and nail it to the backboard. And we playing on that. And at one time we had even our own full court on a dirt court. Made basketball goals, backboards and everything, full court. And it was highly competitive. Every day we went outside and played. You know, that's a big difference back then and now. A lot of these kids don't go out in the sun and play. Man, we used to leave early in the morning and play all day until it was time to come home and get something to eat. And I think that attributed to the group of young men that I grew up with being great high school athletes.
Right, Coach. We kind of understand that. It kind of reminds us like Bastrop, you come from a place that has a rich culture, and the standards was kind of set high. When you get that light shined on you. You went on to play at UAPB, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Coach, tell us about how was that?
It was an amazing experience for me. The unique thing was that when I was coming out of high school, I was being recruited, and my dad was a Jackson State alumni. And when it came down to it, UAPB was the strongest interest for me. And my dad, he begged me not to go because UAPB was fresh off the death penalty. And back then, most teams didn't win games right off the bat, fresh off the death penalty. The death penalty means your program has been completely shut down for a certain amount of time. And that program was shut down for 2 or 3 years. And my freshman class was the incoming class to help restart that program. And the interesting thing was that it was a bunch of freshmen recruited, but it was also a lot of junior college players, a lot of Division I players that had either got in trouble or didn't have the opportunities that they want. So we had a gumbo, so to speak, of talent on that campus. And we also were coached by Hall of Fame high school coach Lee Hartman. I think Coach Hartman had 5 state championships at Dalloway High School, and he was also an alumni of UAPB. He took on the challenge to start that program, and he gave me an opportunity. And the kids that showed up for campus for fall camp, we developed an immediate strong bond, and we developed an outstanding team. And so the first year we came back, we wasn't eligible for postseason honors. But after the initial season, I think we went like 7-3. And after that initial season, some of the upperclassmen started talking about, man, we were able to play for a national championship the next year. And I was listening to them, but, I didn't know They was up there talking about it, and they caught my attention. And so I'm locked in. They were talking about the type of nucleus that this team had, the camaraderie that this team had, and they felt like they thought we had the characteristics to compete for, back then was an NAIA championship. You get a chance to go to the playoffs and make it to the last game. Where here it was the following year, we are at the end of the season. I think we were playing against Morris Brown. And if you beat Morris Brown is in Atlanta. If you beat Morris Brown, you get into the playoffs. If you lose, you out. So we ended up beating Morris Brown. And we ended up getting into the playoffs, and then the bracket came out. And the bracket came out, and we drew Central State, Ohio. At the time, Central State, Ohio was the most dominant team in that division. They had won the championship for like the last 5 or 6 years, and I can remember some of our schoolmates were saying, "Man, y'all had a good run, like the season was over." So we drew number 1, Central State, Ohio, round 1, and we gave them everything that they can handle. Man, they had an awesome team, had NFL players. One notably is Hugh Douglas that played for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, man, they were amazing. But we had some guys, too, and they didn't have no back down in them. And we fought them and ended up pulling out 21-14. All right, so we draw the second round. We drew a team that was from up north. It's called Western Montana. And this team were a predominantly white team. I think they had 2 black kids on the team. And we thought we had more speed than them, and it was going to be a cakewalk or whatever. And, man, they were a spread team back before everybody was throwing the ball a lot. And they ended up coming out there, man, and they were good at that spread offense. And they was dipping and dunking that ball, man, all the way down the field, and gave us everything we could handle. And we ended up in a shootout. It was such a shootout, and it ended up in such a dramatic fashion. The game was on ESPN, the highlights rather. And I think we ended up pulling it off like 61-54 or something like that. But it was a last-second play, 2-point conversion for the win, and that's how we ended up pulling it off. And so, man, had an amazing bond with those guys, and we were highly successful throughout the time that I was there. And Coach Hardman, he was an amazing person and an amazing mentor to work under as well.
Right. Coach, we listen to you, and we know that you had a great high school career. You had a great college career, and you went on and you started coaching and teaching. When we come back from this intermission, Coach, we want to enter the mind of Coach Sherrod as we take a journey down his path in the many high schools that he done reached out to and coached in Northeast Louisiana. We'll be right back with Ram football head coach Sherrod after this intermission.
Yeah.
Welcome back. We're still here with Ram football head coach Sherrod. Coach Sherrod, tell us something. What is most misunderstood about Coach Sherrod?
I don't know what other people think about me. I can tell you that I'm a humble person. There's been times in the past where people may take your humility or kindness for weakness. I care about kids. I have a passion for what I do. And sometimes I put my own job and duties in front of my own life and my own wife and my own family. You know what I mean? That's been causing me some problems in the past, but That's how much I care about what I do. And sometimes I'm guilty of thinking I can fix everything. Like you got all the answers, but sometimes the situations are tougher than your answers that you have. I enjoy teaching the kids the game of football, but more importantly, I like the characteristics that we can give the kids that they can take with them after the game is over. Like being on time, like being honest, like hard work, like attitude, like expectations. Some of those things, so many things that you can gain, not just from football, but from any organized sport. Or even if you're in the band, the band, they talk about discipline and stuff or whatever. So it doesn't matter. Anything where you get some structure, I think is a great deal for the kids.
Right, Coach. I just, I can hear the passion in your voice. I want to know one thing. What's one thing that you didn't expect in your coaching career that still kind of is unsettled with you, Coach?
Well, when you start coaching as a young coach, you had these ideas and thoughts and visions of how things supposed to go. You put on your hat and whistle, and everybody show up at practice on time and line up like you want to line up and do what you ask them to do. But it don't always work like that. Coaching is a tough job, and it ain't no job that you're gonna get rich doing. It's either something that you gotta love to do, or you have a passion for it, or you have a passion for the kids, or you won't be happy because you're not gonna make a whole bunch of money. That's even as a head coach, and even as a head coach, when you make, I guess, whatever the head coach's salary is, it goes back into the program through the kids, whether you feed them, gas, clothes, whatever you need to do. The other thing that I didn't expect was, and I'm talking about from my initial thought process of coaching, I didn't expect you had to wear so many hats. At this job, you are not only a coach, but sometimes you got to be the big brother. Sometimes you got to be the daddy. You got to be the counselor. You got to be the pastor. You got to be the doctor. You wear many different hats, and every day presents you with a new challenge. So it's a bunch you didn't expect as a coach, but luckily, man, I was surrounded by some good people when I first started, and I took bits and pieces from what I learned from all of those guys, and try to put my own deal together. But ultimately, it's tough business, and you got to have some thick skin to do it.
Right, most definitely. I've been in that head coaching situation too. It's not a good feeling when things are not going the way you plan it and you write it up in your mind. When you script it up in your mind, everything is picture perfect. If, like you say, you have the right attitudes and the right approach to it. With that being said, Coach, I want to know what's your biggest challenge, and right now, and how are you tackling that challenge?
Well, right now, we hadn't won a game this year. We have success in the jamboree, and right now I had to leave out a meeting with my coaches and the coaching staff, and every weekend we come in here and we sit here and put our heads together on what do we need to do to get better and how we going to do it. And you sit there and you talk about your plans, you write them out, and you go to practice Monday. And you come in there and you got a kid and say, well, Coach, I can't be at practice. And you say, why? You got they just didn't show up. And you say, well, why is he not here? Doesn't he want to win? You see what I'm saying? Those type of deals that you have, and you never know who it may be. You know what I mean? So sometimes your plan, you have to come up with an alternative plan when you get ready to go to practice. So that's one of the challenges that you have right now, because no one likes to lose, and you try to teach lessons from those losses, but you also try to make corrections from those losses. But it's hard to do if you're not allowed to. And some of them give you that opportunity, and some of them don't. But you still got to try to build them up, because these are your kids. You ain't getting no more kids. You can sit there and dream about them if you want to, but you ain't getting no more kids. You only getting the kids that you got. And you got to take what you got and try to make that work for you on Friday. And that's what we try to do.
Right, Coach. I'm looking at the team, and I know the numbers are down. The morale of the city is down, but I see you got 32 faithful kids. I counted almost a little bit more, and they show up every Friday, and I see them competing, and I see them trying, and I see you trying to coach, and like you say, you're a laid back guy, and I guess a lot of fans want to see you more animated when you're coaching, but that's not your style.
Yeah.
But
you have to be yourself. You could be animated. Does that fix your situation? Did that make somebody run faster or harder? I don't know. Because the thing about it is, if the kid is fast, he's fast. Right. But I coach kids. What people don't see when they see me on the sideline, they don't see me at practice when I'm in the kid's face, or when I'm in the weight room in the kid's face. When I came here, I was a strength coach and an offensive line coach. And I did some of that stuff all the way up till I just hired a guy this summer to kind of do some of that stuff. So there is an intense side of me, but you may not always see it in the games at times. You know what I mean? Because when you put the work in through the week, the plan's supposed to just kind of carry out. And you coach a kid up on the sideline, but what I try my best to do is gauge what a kid needs at that moment. Some kids, like I know, they need to get chewed out and yelled at hard. Some of us don't respond to that well. So if he doesn't respond to that well, why would I use that technique or method?
Right.
All right. So that might be the kid I put my arm around him and I talk to him with only me and him hear what I'm saying. So you spend your time trying to gauge these kids and find out what his attitude is like, what his personality is like, what's going to make him go or not go or shut down. And that's what I try to do. So you may not see me animated, but I have my moments. But just because you don't see them doesn't mean that I don't have it in me.
Right. And, Coach, it's like we always know it's different strokes with different strokes. You just explained that you're trying to gauge the kids and you know the right approach and how to approach. Me, when I was coaching, I'm a little more animated, in the face, hardcore. But with that being said, Coach, it go back to what you were saying in the beginning. I can honestly say when I was coaching baseball, I had some student athletes. What is your definition of a true student athlete?
Well, number one, a true student athlete, number one, it has to be a kid that's internally motivated in some form or fashion. And now where that starts at is the vision for their academic success at home. See, a lot of people, they talk about, well, I don't put my kid because he's not doing well here. Well, did you set the standard at home to begin with? If you set the standard high at home, then it carries over. It carries over, and I think it takes a village to raise a child. So if you set a high standard at home and you got high expectations at home, when he comes to school, and I can hold him to the same high expectations. But if he comes to school and he doesn't have those expectations, and I said something high, he'll show me how long he gets. And then when he go home, if he don't have that same structure, then the expectations drop. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not targeting no one or anything like that. I'm just talking about a child in general. I have a daughter that she's a pharmacist, and she had to go to college for 8 years, to achieve that degree. But she wouldn't have did it if she didn't have great study skills and great study habits that was instilled, or let me rephrase that was forced upon her from her family as a whole. The mother led the charge with setting the standard, and we just corralled her. She tried, like most kids try, not to do what you desire for them to do. But we beat it in her head so much and so often, and then she kind of took off with it. And later on, she developed these great study habits and could memorize things that I could only dream of memorizing. She was only able to accomplish it because a standard was set and we held her to the standard. And still to this day, she just finished her testing at the beginning of the summer, and now she's fully certified to do her craft. But it was a tough journey the whole way. It's not easy. And being that type of parent is not fun. You won't win daddy of the day or mama of the day when you enforcing some of those standards. But medicine sometimes don't taste good when it's going down, but it's good for you. You know what I mean? And we got to be willing to give the kids their medicine that they need, not just at home, but when they come to school. But I think it's almost like we are a team, you know, the parents and the coaches. When the parents set the standard high and you continue that standard as a teacher or as a coach, once they come to school, that's when I think we get a well-rounded student athlete. Now, we talked about the student for the most part, and now the next phase is the athletics part. The athletics part is about also teaching the kids to make a commitment and not being afraid to make a commitment. And some of our kids right now, and not just at Bastrop High School, just our kids in general, our youth in general, they're afraid to commit to something. They're afraid what might happen if I don't win, or what might happen if I don't play, or things don't go well. This is practice for the rest of your life. If you can commit to something as simple as a sport, then potentially you can commit to doing a job for a long period of time at a high level. So this is bigger than just athletics. We're teaching the kid to develop a characteristic that he can carry over in society, way beyond the sports, because sports going to end for everybody at some point. Don't you agree?
Most definitely, Coach, and I agree totally with you about we as parents and coaches, we have to be as a team. The same things that are being enforced at home, if you have a rapport with the parents, you can implement some of that structure and doing practice or doing class time. And I think that's where we are missing the gap, the generational gap, where we need to bridge this gap between coach and parent and community. It takes a village to raise a child, and you're exactly correct with that, Coach. We're going to take another intermission, and when we come back, Coach, okay, I want to know, what is your ideal site of a program that you would like to see? What would be your idea of a complete program when we come back from this intermission? It's Bastrop football, Coach Sherrod, when we return. Welcome back. We're still here with Ram football coach, Coach Sherrod. This is being brought to you by Northeast Counseling Agency of Bastrop, Louisiana. Coach, when we left for intermission, we was asking you, what would your ideal program look like to you?
An ideal program, number one, it would be where you fully staffed. And when I say that, I picked up, and I've seen this in action, but I'm speaking of a fly I picked up one time. I was in the press box cleaning it out, and someone had left their roster up there. And the roster listed all these coaches, and they had a freshman coach. They had a JV coach. They had a person that's over film. They had a person to do the stats. They got a social media person. You see what I'm saying? But the program, from the way that I was trained when I first went to Richfield by Greg Williams, they call him Big Coach if you know him. He laid it out to us. He had We had a coach at every level. You know, you had a coach for the 7th grade and the 8th grade football team. We had a freshman coach, and then you had between the high school coaches, they coached the JV team. So we had freshmen, JV, and a varsity. And he believed in a vertical alignment, meaning that everybody does the same thing that the varsity program does, from thematics, from terminology, from philosophy. Everything was vertically aligned to ensure that you get the best product. And then in the off season, all your coaches would have these clinics. We were a wing T team, and we would have a clinic on the wing T. And we were like, Coach, this is the same stuff we do. Well, the key is mastery, so we're going to talk about it again. And so we would sit in the meeting room and just talk about how to block this play, how to block that play, what's the best way to do this. Every year to kind of keep you sharp and on your toes. The next thing is that all the coaches at the time, they were free after, I want to say lunch. All the coaches had a planning period, they had an athletic period. That's the way it was set up. And that's in Washita Parish. Our situation here is different because of the numbers of kids are low. Academic is more pressing than the athletics right now. So we have to take what we can get in terms of that. But that's an ideal situation where all your coaches are free and able to prepare and meet to receive the kids. So you should be able to receive the kids when they're coming into your building, not trying to race them down there. And I ain't taking no shots at nobody. That's just the situation. That's just is what it is. And that makes the situation tough. And like our junior high, you know, they practice at a different place. It would be nice if they was here as well. You know, that way all your coaches could be on staff, and in the meeting rooms, and everybody talking the same thing, and everybody lining up to the same thing in one way. All right, in one way, to be one unit. And that's the start of the successful program. Right now, one of the struggles that we had, the junior high kids can't lift weights. Why they can't lift weights? We're on 2 different class schedules. Again, I want to say that our class schedule is designed around the kids' academic needs as opposed to the academics and putting this extra for the athletics because we don't have that capability through the numbers. But if the kids could lift weights in junior high, they'd be physically stronger. They're acclimated to the soreness and all of that stuff that comes with lifting and training, and they're used to it. As opposed to your kid, all he do is come out here and play, never lift weights, never trains all season, and you're supposed to get a different product. You see what I'm saying? It don't necessarily work that way. And I've been places where you're able to do it and you can see the results. But I ain't never been the one to make excuses. I wasn't trained that way. I try to make it work the best way I can. But it could be better. You know, that situation could be better if it fit what my practical needs, you know, with the academic and the schedule.
Right. You know, Coach, I was in that situation with baseball. Matter of fact, our facility was off campus. That leaves too much room for them to have time to do other things and get involved in other things. And then on top of that, I'm listening to you earlier, Coach. I know that these kids sometimes hold the program, I'm going to say, hostage, knowing that you need them, seeing the numbers low. Everything that goes on with the school system is blasted on Facebook and on the tabloids and in the media, and they know too much of the inner business, so they sit back and while you gauging, they're gauging the situation and seeing where can they bypass some of this training and some of these things you want them to do.
Yeah. So, but that, you know, and it, you know, it's tough. You know, but like I say, man, ever since I've been here, you know, I tried to work hard and work my butt off. And sometimes it just ain't enough when it ain't enough people or the timing ain't right in terms of scheduling and all of that. sometimes it ain't enough. Or if you get that part right, then you have issues with the kids. So it's just a tough business, man. It don't matter where you at. Even when all those conditions that I talked about were right, this business is still tough. It's the toughest thing that I ever did besides playing.
Right. We look at Coach. You done been up and down 165 and I-20 coaching. What have you seen through your 23 years with the progression of the kids today? Or is it an increase or a decline with, like you talked about, the commitment? But what about the motivation and the drive? Do you see a decline from your 23 years?
Well, right now, and again, it's not just here, because I talk to my coaching buddies statewide, nationwide. I got friends that coach a lot of different places. And the interest level is low. They have too many distractions and too many alternative things that they could go be a part of or do, video games and all that kind of stuff. So you're in competition all the time with all of that other stuff. You know, and I'm gonna tell you what else. I didn't know that roping and rodeoing around here was a big deal like it was. But this is part of these kids' culture. I can't challenge that, but it's something that you got to deal with. You know what I mean? You're not gonna see some of these kids on Saturday that rope. That's part of they daddy did it, their granddaddy did it, and I can respect it. And you got to deal with it, you know. So, but now the drive to play sports is so much different, you know, because when we were growing up, the old folks say it ain't like it used to be. Well, now that we're older, and I can say that I've been coaching for 20 years. 20 years ago, it ain't what it used to be. I can remember going to a Watchtower game, and they used to dress out like 125 kids. You know, I don't know what their numbers are now. I don't know if they got 125. They junior high school used to have an A and B team for each grade level. I don't know if they got that right now. But everybody talks about a decline in numbers and decline in interest. It's, you know, I try to recruit our hallways as best as possible every year. Even if a kid gave me issues the year before, I give them another chance because I feel like that's why I'm here. That's why the program is here for them. Okay, so even if a kid gave me a hard time one year, man, I open doors for them again because people can change. All right, but it's big boys just walking the hall. You say, man, why that kid ain't playing no football? Well, what they don't know is I done asked him 3 or 4 times. I done tried 3 or 4 different angles. I try to tell him the dream with it and tell him what he can't really see right now, his future potential, his body style and how they may adapt to the game. They just not interested. And what I'm not going to do is try to make the kids feel bad for not playing a sport that I want to coach them in. I ain't going to make them feel bad. I try to encourage them to find something that they do like to do. Even if it's not football. You need to be doing something because I always try to tell them you only get a chance to do high school once. And it's over with. It ain't no go back, no back to the future. It once it's over, it's over with.
And you know, I noticed that too when I walked the hallways. Like I say, when I was coaching, I would come to do different things and handle different business in the office, and I would see these big old humongous kids walking, and I know they wasn't playing football, but it's probably, Coach, a lot of kids these days, the interest just not there because, like you said, there's so many other distractions going on around them. But with that being said, what do you see being most influential to you at this point? Who has been the most influential person to you at this point?
Well, first of all, I feel like all the coaches that I spent time around with, whether they coach me or coach with me or I work for them, bits and pieces of everybody. But probably the person that had the most influence because I spent the most time around him was Greg Williams at Richwood. You know, he came from Ruston. While he was at Ruston, they won for a state championship. So I think they went to like 6 of them. He was a big guy in the organization. on doing things a certain way, maintaining some type of order at all times. And it takes bodies, it takes hands on deck all the time to make it happen the way he envisioned it. And when we originally started the program at Richwood, we had the numbers, we had the coaches, we had the slots. And, Coach Yanez is down there right now. And I don't think he had the same amount of slots that we did. But, he had a great impact on me. And not just myself, but also Mr. Broussard worked under him. He was the freshman coach under him. He really held us to the fire. He challenged us as men. He challenged us not to be powder. He challenged us not to make excuses. And he held us to a high standard, almost like he was our dad. And all of us, a guy named Dexter Houston used to work up here. He's down there. Well, he was down there. But all of those men that worked for him are in leadership roles to this day because he set a standard so high and he challenged us so much to where you had no choice but to be in a leadership position or be successful in some form or fashion. So right now, all of those people have been either coordinators, head coaches, administrators, or business owners. He put a drive in us that was unbelievable. He was similar to Coach Brad. They just had different ways of getting their views across. But I appreciate him and everything that he did for me by being an influential person in my life.
Right.
Now, the next person was Warren Trumbull. He was the second head coach at Richwood. And he was a different style. He was a pastor, of course. He came in and said, I don't believe in profanity or none of that. And and so he moved a little bit differently. Discipline-wise, he didn't cut no corners. I'm talking about he wouldn't play kids. If you was late, man, he didn't care if it was game day. You ain't got nobody else. You was late, you ain't going. You know what I mean? And if you screwed up, he punished himself after practice. So after I experienced what I did with Coach Williams, after I experienced what I did with Coach Trimble, I had a brief experience with Coach Bradshaw in between. I worked for him at an All-Star game. I came down here and interviewed for a job once, I think the last championship season. And I ended up not coming because he couldn't communicate on time, and I ended up accepting another job. And but that experience with him for that week, it was amazing as well. I just think that led me to believe that I was ready to take the next step to the head coach position, and that's when I left. And I probably left the state championship team at Richwood when I left. Had some of the likes of a guy named Greg Johnson, Richard Wilson, who is the head coach at MLK right now. These guys were amazing. Greg Hudson. There's a bunch of names. We probably don't know all of them, but Cedric Goins, the boy who was about to take the job at Razor, he was on that team. I mean, I left that team because I was chasing a dream. I had the opportunity to be a head coach. And, I think those people were the most influential on my life in terms of coaching.
Right. Coach, I look at the places you've been and the things you've been able to accomplish and the people you've been under. Coach Trimble was my coach in high school, our defensive coordinator. Coach Thaxton talked about him on the previous show. Coach Trimble was a real disciplined guy, and like you said, very religious, but he was very stern with you. He was. You look back all the great coaches you've been around and the places you've been and the programs you've been around. Coach, what would some advice you'll give to some of your younger coaches that's up under you, or somebody that may want to take on this career, this journey? What's one piece of advice you would give them?
Number one, accept the fact that you don't know nothing. If you ain't never put on a hat and whistle and coach at least for years, be quiet and listen. Ask questions. Don't be ashamed if you don't know the answers. Seek out information. Now, when I was first coming up, the internet wasn't as accessible in terms of information, but now, man, it's at your fingertips. You can go to clinics. You can do all of that. Seek out information. If you truly want to be great, study. You have to study. And just work hard and be loyal to the people that give you opportunities. Be loyal to the person, whomever that is in charge. One of the first lessons I received before I took my first job at Razor, I did graduate assistant at Arkansas Pine Bluff, and the coach told me, he said, make sure if you go to their program, he said, I don't know if they win or lose. He said, win, lose, or draw, be loyal to the head coach. He said, that's it, win, lose, or draw, be loyal to the head coach. He told me that. It stuck with me throughout my career. And as a result, the people that I was loyal to that hired me as an assistant, some of them same people ended up hiring me to be head coaches. It's crazy how it works, ain't it?
Yes, sir. It definitely is. It definitely is. And Coach, when you stick to the blueprint, everything will work out for the best of you. It may not go as you planned it, as we scripted up in our mind, but if you stick to the blueprint of how it was given to you, not try to recreate the wheel, everything will work out. But Coach, before we get out of here, I want to know one thing. I know for your hobbies, I see that you like hunting and fishing, and I see you keep buckets of fish and buckets of brim and chanky pins, and you're a real sportsman, Coach. What's one thing that you're most proud of that you've accomplished?
My daughter, man, she's amazing, and I told her that she was my greatest accomplishment. Despite me ever being playing high school sports, college, all that, man, to raise a child, I think it's nothing like it. I think it's one of God's greatest gifts. And she was an amazing child to raise. She also plays sports, and she's amazing. And she just blessed us with our grandson. And not to leave anyone out, but also my wife. She's been an amazing person in my life. She's one of my greatest supporters, both of them. And we've been together. We've probably been dating since we were 16, 17. I know we was talking when we were 15 years old. And to be around somebody that long, that knows you inside out, you know them inside out, and you know she loves you, she's in it for the long haul. Man, that's a special thing. So I changed that answer to my family. Because all of them are important to me. And I teach all the kids that I come in contact with that family is more important than anything. That's in sport. That's in any mess that's going on out there. Your family is more important than anything. And when you come to me and you have to make a decision for your family, I can understand and respect it. I had a young man this summer, couldn't make workouts. His mother, she had an illness. I think she may have had a stroke. He said, Coach, I got to stay and watch my mom. I can't make practice. I say, son, I can't do nothing but respect that. Because that's what young men are supposed to do. You know what I mean? And I told him I was proud of him. Not the fact that he couldn't be at practice, but the fact that he was willing to sacrifice something for something that was greater than the sport of football. And that was his family.
Right. And that's a great thing, Coach. I listen to you have some great morals and values, and a lot of times we put value in wins and losses when that's not the case, when you're trying to instill values into kids. And I see that you're really trying to instill values. The things may not be going as the community may want it, but I see that you have the passion and you have the experience. And, Coach, we really hope that things can get turned around. With that being said, what do you think is going to take for the Rams to turn this season around, or just be more competitive as we go down the road, Coach?
Number one, that the kids stay engaged, don't quit. These kids, man, we've been through so much together already, and I really believe most of them are all in. We just need something positive to hold into. We need a win Friday, we need a win Friday bad. You know what I mean? To get everybody's attention again and get them locked back in, because it's never fun losing. I don't care what you're playing. It ain't fun. And don't nobody like it. And Bastrop is a tough place, but they also a proud place. And reasonably so, because at one time they whooped everything up and down 165, I-20. It didn't matter where it was. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it means something to the people here, to the community here. And I understand that they upset. And, they just need to know that we're working right now. The coach is still in there right now. They still in there right now, meeting as we speak. And we're giving it our best. And hopefully we can turn this thing around and make them proud.
Right, Coach. And, hang in there, keep your head up, keep pushing. We're so grateful that you took out time from your coaches meeting to come in and join the Emerge 360 family. We just want you to know, Coach, we support you, and anything we can do for you, we will, and we wish you the best on your endeavors. Is there any last words for the community, Coach?
Man, I love the city of Bastrop. Regardless of what y'all think of me, head coach or not, man, I love you guys, and I love the community, and I enjoy being here. And thank you.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you and hope you guys turn around and we can get you back real soon. I'm your host, Maserati. This has been brought to you by Involved Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic needs of love, learn, live, and laugh. Thanks 720 Gamers Group and Burchell Family Insurance Agency. Until next time, y'all get involved. Y'all stay encouraged. And most of all, y'all stay immersed. We out of this thing.
If all your dreams of a video fixing don't come true, don't run away from you. Don't run away from you. Young King Thug, boss, young prince of the ghetto. Don't run away from you. Don't run away from you. If all your dreams of a big time drug dealer don't come true, don't run away from you. Don't run away from you. Now if you've seen what I've seen, I know you're extra game. They're giving catch 20 to life over crumbs of cocaine.